Hey everyone, and welcome to Deep Soul, the love edition, I guess. We closed it out asking the question, "What is love?" We want to ask that question to the Mitchells and have their chance to respond. So, what is love to y'all?
It's not a feeling. Like, I went into marriage thinking that it's just all lovey-dovey. Yeah. And I remember it wasn't. We got married. We got married in May 2016, and I remember it was that summer where I found myself in one of our bedrooms, and I was just crying. And I was like, God, I'm not ready for this. Like, I don't think I'm good enough for him. But, you know, I've just learned that it's just not a feeling. It's not always a feeling. It's a choice sometimes, and you have to fight through when it's hard. Yeah. You know, when you do fall and you make mistakes and you realize you getting on his nerves, or you realize, dang, I shouldn't have said that because that was very wrong and that hurt him. You know, and you can't condemn yourself. Like, you can't beat yourself up. You just have to continue to just go to God and say sorry. Love is saying sorry and forgiving one another.
Yes.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. And I definitely want to pick up from there. It's forgiveness. Like, we about say, I forgive you about every day. Every day. Because we have to. We don't want to go to bed with all those issues on our minds and then waking up with all that stuff from yesterday, and we can't communicate and go forward with the things that are happening. And so we have to forgive each other, and we stay in this place of humility because, again, that choice is being able to give that all the time. Sometimes you don't want to, you know, like those feelings go away. You know, you have that, the wedding day, everything is great, and really with the weddings, we think about ourselves a lot more than we think about just the whole covenant when we're in that, right? And we come in with these expectations of what I want and how you should be for what I want and all these other things. But it's like, again, you know, dying to yourself, that humility of, you know, sometimes I don't have to win. Because if I try to always win, that's what it'll be, just me winning and not us winning. That's right. And so...
That's good.
Okay, all right. Now, for those that are looking for their love or looking for their one, sometimes I know I got friends who say, I don't believe in love no more. It won't happen for me, or whatever that case may be. What is your response to that? For those people that are dating or are looking for that love and they're saying, I just quit. This is not happening for me. I don't believe in it no more. What's your response to that? Any comments, feedbacks?
Wait.
Patience.
No, there's so much. There's so much in that word, patience. Yeah. I think all of us are lacking the understanding of the definition of patience. So why is patience important?
If I could, so just to kind of give a little bit of our story, and just a small thing.
No, go ahead.
We actually were abstinent before we got to marriage. So virgins, and I was.
That's big.
Y'all listen.
That's really
It
big.
was hard.
Listen, I was, what, 26?
But praise God. Yes.
26 when I got married. So you talking about 26 years being a virgin, and you have so many friends, so many people that's like, why are you still doing that? Give that up. There's no point in it. How you know your person gonna even be waiting? They might have slept with 50 million people. All these just negative things to kind of throw at you. And I definitely had those moments where I've prayed, I cried, like, God, like, is this even worth it? And you know, God showed me that it is. And it was a moment I remember saying to my friend back in, I think it was 2013. It's kind of like everything around you is calm, but you feel the storm coming over the horizon. But more so, I was like, man, I feel like God is telling me to prepare. You know, I got to that place where, just like you were saying, you came to Tennessee and you were here first, and then he brought your wife. I feel like he got me to the place where I know what I want to do. I know where I want to go, but now I need help. And then God was like, now you're ready. And so he started preparing me. And it was in this space where I felt like he was saying, you know, when you're preparing for something, you're more than likely going to get that thing. You're more likely going to be in that direction. So, you know, seeking you shall find.
Yeah.
So if you're preparing to be a husband right now, what does that look like? So that means all the other girls got to go away.
Yeah.
You know, all the other plan Bs. And that's the other thing. This is no plan B type of situation. Ain't no prenups. Ain't no extra stash or something to make sure I got to get away. Because what we're saying is I'm already preparing for this thing to just fade. Yeah. And so my mindset, our mindset has to be all the way in and all the way ready. So,
and I think what you're trying to also say is that you need patience to get that.
Yes.
You know, while you're in that preparation, you're going to have patience. You need to have patience, or else, I mean, you're just anxious. And you're really not giving it to God. You know, you're really not waiting. You know? Yeah.
All right. You want to respond?
Yeah, I do. Earlier, Jasmine was saying that you can't respond out of emotion.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is emotion. You know, you don't want to wait because emotionally, first of all, you're thinking, I shouldn't have to wait. You know? And then the world is telling us, don't wait. Don't wait. And then by the age of such, which is normally around 30, you should already have this and you should already have that. Well, God is saying, wait. You know, be patient, and I will send you your helpmate. Someone just told me just today that they were preparing themselves, but they're getting ready to go out and find them a man. I'm like, no, you're not. Don't go find anything. Like he said, get in position, get prepared, and wait.
That's it.
Well, you know, one thing that's happening, that God has a purpose for your life. And I think that, you know, we get to a point, you said something about, you know, I found her in Detroit, but I really found her heart here in Tennessee. You know, that's when I was transformed into the man of God that he wanted me to be. You know, so it's not about yourself. You have to really deny yourself. There's a lot of times I had wanted to do my thing. And that was it. Do my thing. You know, and it wasn't about my truth. And you know, the story always changes. You know, it get twisted so many times. But you know, once you do find God, and as he was speaking to you, you were realizing that there was someone in your ear telling you the right thing to do. And so, you know, it's just about being patient. And he said, wait patiently. You know, and when you wait patiently on him, he'll give you your heart's desires.
That's true. That's truth. And with patience, I think social media plays a big role in making us not want to wait. We look at other people's stories and other people's status and stuff, and we see that, oh, that's where I need to be, or that's what this should look like. That's what he or she should look like. So how can I want y'all to speak on the ways of how social media can honestly deter you from staying patient?
Man, social media has so many just messages that kind of tell you this is what everybody's doing, and if you're not doing this, what are you doing? You know, things like who should come first, the wife, the mother, or the kid? If you're not cooking for your man every night, plus cleaning and all this other stuff, I'm like,
y'all,
making
it's
these
not
posts?
real. It's not real life. Okay? It's not real life.
So PSA announcement, that's not real, y'all.
Nah,
It's not real.
that's somebody trying to mess y'all up. Y'all better stop listening.
Does anybody else want to add to that conversation?
The social media? Yeah, and something that me and Cameron, we've even talked about is what we realize is the main people, and I was one of them, so I'm not finna sit here and act like I wasn't single before and I didn't have my little opinions on what I thought marriage was supposed to be like and my expectations, because I was there. I was that person. But what we realized, you know, now that we're married and we look on Facebook and we look on Instagram and we see all these posts like who comes first, your son or your husband and all that stuff, we mainly see single people, the main ones who are talking, the ones who aren't actually married, you know? It's the people who are the singles, and they have their opinions and they have their expectations, and they're arguing about it, and they're like, oh no, marriage should look like this, and you should treat your husband like this, and you should. But it's like, man, now that I'm in it, and I'm not even saying this like I'm better than them, because I'm not saying that. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But what I'm saying is, like, when you're in but for real, when you're in it, it is nothing like that. It is nothing like the expectations that we see, like, because some of the posts that I see on Facebook, it's like, man, I am not that woman. And we cannot go to social media for counseling, because that's basically what we're doing. When we go by social media and Facebook and other people's opinions, we're going to them for marriage counseling. We're going to them to say, how do I live my single life?
Yeah.
They don't know at all. They don't know.
Mr. Barker, I mean, you was talking about how before social media, it seemed like everybody you had a connection. You had to establish that true connection, not, okay, I'm your friend now on Facebook. It's not like that no more, So let's talk about that and that gap.
Well, what we were talking about is basically how we met.
Yeah.
And the way that we met, it wasn't through social media,
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have these date lines and all that kind of stuff, and they meet someone.
Right.
What is it? Black Lives Matter, or what is it called?
Oh, like Black People Meet?
Yeah, Black People Meet and stuff like that. And black people
it
meet.
Was one of them.
That was good.
All that kind of stuff, And
thanks, Jess.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's funny.
Thank you for
But
cleaning
what
that up.
they do is black people meet and say, hey, we a date, and they send all these numbers out to each other.
Right.
And they're going through social media. Mm-hmm. But when we first met, we basically was, the generation was totally different. It was a working generation. Yeah. People wanted to work, They wanted to work, and they wanted to work, and they wanted to make a living, and they wanted to always have money, but they did it the right way. Mm-hmm. It wasn't always about hustling and trying. Well, I say I hustled, but my hustle was totally different. My hustle was trying to give fashion shows and things like that, things that I wanted to do to try to meet the perfect person.
Yeah.
And as my wife always says to me, she says, hey, I prayed for you. Okay. So that was our social media prayer.
Right.
And,
Man, that's
social media was prayer.
Okay. And then, just learning one another, and just, knowing that, because we used to say that the enemy was over the airwaves.
And
he still is. He controls the airways, because if he can control the airways, he can control you, to a certain point. So therefore, you got to be able to, distinguish when you're being attacked, because there's an attack through social media, because they're, like you just stated, they're always someone's talking about talking about how a marriage should be. Right. And they don't really know. Yeah. So that comes in social media, and we find ourselves sometime in this generation always playing games, and when I say games, they're playing video games, or they're looking at social media all day. Right. And what it would do, it would destroy you, because you're playing that, and somebody's distracting you to tell you, hey, this is the way to do it, and that's not the way to do it. And the first way, and I always reiterate to this, is to the Bible, because it's our roadmap already. It tells us what we should be doing. So social media is dangerous to a point that if you allow it to get into you, you get addicted. You always find yourself looking at Facebook, something like that, and that's what the kids are doing now. So, but the thing is that we have to get out and meet one another without social media.
Okay. All right. Why is it important to have a spiritual relationship when it comes to your marriage and your spouse? Mm-hmm. Why is it important to have a spiritual connection?
Yeah, so I think about the scripture when it talks about that a 3-stranded cord cannot be easily broken. Mm-hmm. And so me and him, we're two, but then God is the third one that holds us together. Mm-hmm. And so that's what reminds me. Even when I'm upset with him, we might be arguing, he would say, hey, you want to pray? And sometimes I would have attitude about it, but it's just like, nah, we have to keep God as our focal point. Like, we have to. I mean, that's the only way that we're going to work it out. That's the only way we're going to last.
All right. Parkers, y'all want to respond to that
Yeah,
question?
I love these. I love them. They are so cute.
Thank you.
I mean, for real, because you guys have knowledge at, how old are you?
I am 24.
At
28.
24 that we didn't get till 30-something. You know,
And-
we're 50-something now. So to see that is absolutely beautiful. And I pray to God that you all can step out there even more
Thank you.
to be a witness for all these people, because at your age, man, by the time y'all get our age, y'all gonna be some bad people. But
Can I add
Yeah.
something too? Because it has taken a lot of mentors. And I mean, seeking out counsel and seeking out knowledge. When we were dating, we actually went to a marriage class at our church. It was open for married, divorced, or singles. And the very first night, it was talking about loving God first and then loving yourself in order for you to love somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, we both took it in. He took me home and we're in the living room and we just had this sit down conversation. And he was like, well, how much do you love yourself? Because I don't want to become an idol and like all that stuff like that. So we ended up taking like a 3-day break. You know,
Yeah.
in my mind, it was like we broke up forever. For him, it was like we just need a break. So we ended up coming back together, but really seeking out the knowledge, because we ended up we stayed together. We finished the marriage class and we learned so much about marriage, y'all. I mean, it turned our mindsets around. It was like, okay, so this is what godly marriage is really about. It's nothing what we thought it was.
Yeah, my mentor let me know I messed up. He's like, you need to go back and fix this. That no, don't pause nothing. Keep going.
but something about being spiritually connected and why it's so necessary is because if you don't have that, you won't have the discernment to know to seek the wisdom, or when she's hurting to come and pray. If you don't have that spiritual connection, you won't be able to discern that. And something about me and my husband that people always say is that, yeah, because we finish each other's sentences sometimes, or we can just discern things. He can call me, he said, babe, you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not, But because we're connected, the Holy Spirit will allow us to discern things about one another. So that's why it's so important to be connected, because most people would think, wow, I don't need that. But, oh, you do. You do. And the other thing is this, like Jasmine said earlier, our life has purpose. Our marriage is not just about me and Kevin. Someone told us today that they watched us walk out our lives for over 30 years, and we go, really? I mean, we never even thought about it. So it's a witness, and if you don't have that spiritual connection to it, they won't see light. They'll only see darkness.
All right.
Damn,
That was deep.
that's
Before, do you want to add to that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But you said another thing too is that he has to be the center of your life.
Yeah.
He has to be right there in the middle of your relationship.
Yeah.
And he knows already what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. Right. But the one thing that you have to realize is this: that if God is not there, you can't make it. Yeah. There's no way that you can make it. Because the enemy is going to try to break up the marriage. He doesn't want to see the marriage, last.
Yeah.
We talk to our sons and things like that and tell them, hey, you got to be evenly yoked.
Yes.
And once you evenly yoke, you come together as one. And you got to realize that you are one. You said about the strings being together as one, that bond can never be broken.
Right.
All right, that was deep. I'm good. I'm soul fed and everything. If there's no questions within the audience, then we're going to go ahead and say thank y'all for listening to this part 2. And I don't know, thanks to our guests today. Y'all did amazing up here. Thank you so much. We're about to go ahead and get ready for a performance by CamSpeaks and Jasmine Mitchell. I'm so excited for Jazz. Like no one else did. I'm excited for Cam, but I'm so excited for Jazz. Okay, so
I am too.
y'all get ready for that, and thank y'all for tuning in.